Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Nebro, and I'm the head of organizational design at Intentional Futures. And I'm kicking off a video series I call The Inflection Point, where I'm going to share powerful insights and new ways of thinking designed for leaders that are actively engaged in creating adaptable, innovative, and inspiring places to work. And I call it The Inflection Point because I'm passionate about bringing to you what we've learned in our own hunt for the how these past 2 years through research, through interviews with experts, and our very own experience working with organizations to create breakthrough results. So my personal goal is to help people first leaders thrive in a world where you experience limited capacity to get work done, siloed functions or teams that slow progress and makes collaboration difficult. I hate that one. Challenged by an unclear direction. You make it difficult to know like what to have a priority or what to focus on. Maybe you're challenged with how to move change forward, which gets in the way of your organization being able to make progress. It needs to take better care of both those you serve, but also ignite the passion for the work that you do. So I want to start, and there might be another reason, but I want to start this series by getting you anchored in this first inflection point, because it's been my experience, it's been our experience here at Intentional Futures, that many, many, many good leaders end up being tasked to lead with incorrect information. So you've probably been in a leadership meeting, maybe you've read articles or had expert consultants tell you that to improve performance and get sustainable results, you're going to need one of a number of things. You're going to need better tools, right? And they'll give you certain frameworks, etc. Maybe you need more discipline. Maybe you need more accountability. It might be that you need new leadership. Maybe you need a better structure. You need to restructure for speed. Maybe you need better data. You don't have the right information to make choices, or maybe you need better technology to get that data, etc. On their own, I honestly believe that any of these solutions are good. I mean, they're going to solve certain problems, but then performance begins to lag again, right? And so if you don't get the result that you expected, the narrative is often that you're doing it wrong, right? And then repeat that list over and over and over again, leadership, accountability, etc. What we see and what we often hear from leaders when they're talking about these challenges is they talk about these challenges as if they're complicated or they're complex. Chris, we're dealing with something that's super complex. Chris, we're dealing with, trying to improve engagement and it's super complicated. These words get used interchangeably all the time, but they're actually quite different. And so this is what I want to talk about. So let's take a quick quiz here. And I'm going to ask you some questions. Since we're not together, just think about it for yourself. And I want you to understand what's the difference between complicated and complex. Okay. First of all, take a look at the picture on the left. It's a watch. Is it a complicated system or is it a complex system? Now take a look at the image on the right. It's a car engine. Would you say that that's a complicated system or a complex system? I'll give you two more. Weather. You got a picture of weather on the left. Is that a complicated system or a complex system? And finally, traffic. I do not want to be in that mess, but is that considered a complicated system or a complex one? I just want you to think about that. And it's really important because we're really asking leaders the question, do you know which system that you're engaging in? Which is which? And understanding this distinction is truly, I think, at the heart of where things are breaking down in organizations. It's not the only place, but it's such an important part. And I want you to understand the difference because it's going to accelerate your ability to affect change. So let's take a look at these. A watch, a car engine. These are great examples of systems that a systems theorist would call a complicated system. These are causal systems. They are cause effect. They are linear. They have maybe many, many, many parts, and sometimes they're super complicated and might need an expert to understand them, but they can be predicted. They can actually be fixed. You can take your watch or your car to a repair shop. They can run a diagnostic. They might come up with a work plan. It'll take a little bit of work, but they can isolate the problem and fix it for you, right? This is the world of root cause analysis. This is the world of diagnosis. This is the world of standardization, of repeatability, reliability, work plans, implementation, all of those words, right? And conventional management was designed to solve these kinds of problems. Weather, traffic, a 6-year-old. I got 2 kiddos, right? These are examples of complex adaptive systems. They're complex because they're dispositional. I mean, they have a general direction that they're going, but we can't exactly be sure how they're going to develop or change, right? Think weather. So they can surprise us. They're not predictable. We can't change them the way that we want to, right? So complex systems cannot be fixed. They can only be managed to, right? No one ever said, honey, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to fix the garden. I'm going to go fix the weather. Like it doesn't make any sense, right? So complex systems cannot be fixed. You cannot create a solution that will work for all times. They can only be managed to. You can only influence them, which requires then continuous interaction with them to learn what works for whom under what conditions. And that's a really important thing to understand, because what we're realizing is we think what's happening in organizations that we're working with is that most leaders are approaching complex change and complex problems using causal tools and causal approaches, and that sets you up for failure. So think about the complex problems you're addressing. Employee engagement, that's a complex challenge. You can't run a survey, you can't diagnose a problem, and you can't execute a work plan because it can't solve and fix engagement. You can't do that. You have to continuously understand what works for whom under what conditions, right? What worked at 10 a.m. with someone doesn't work at 10:15. And so you're continuously working on it. Creating equity and inclusion is a complex challenge inside organizations. You can't diagnose and fix someone's sense of belonging, right? It doesn't work that way in a community. What was effective at one point won't be later. So we have to engage in this differently. Yet, what do I see? We see large scale assessments, then we see, elaborate committees, and we see work plans to implement changes. And that works for some things, but not, complex changes. Figuring out like how the market's going to react to a new product or strategy, that's a complex challenge. You can't run enough analysis and determine the best pathway. You have to test your way into what works for which segments under what conditions. So I think you get where I'm going with this. Choosing how to deal with a competitor that has an innovative business model, an Uber or an Airbnb, that is a complex problem. There's no amount of analysis, no algorithm that will tell you how to respond. So if you're trying to improve productivity, can you diagnose and fix productivity? Only if the work is repeatable, right? So if it's not, then you can only continuously learn and adjust to changing conditions. There's no one fix. I feel like I'm making my point. Am I not making my point? So on to the next thing. Causal approaches to complex problems, complex change, they're not workable or sustainable, and they end up causing more harm to those that you're really trying to do right by. And that's why this is so important for me to talk about those leaders that are trying to build inspiring workplaces, because you're doing your best thinking. We're just giving you a brand new way of taking a look at what's happening. We need a different approach to management that solves complex problems. So, and it starts by being able to recognize, first of all, what type of system or change are you dealing with? 2, shifting from solving problems and executing solutions to managing learning. So very different. And then 3, deploying a test, learn, and adapt operating strategy. So test and learn what works for whom under what conditions to inform how to proceed. So I think this is a big, big deal. And I really believe for us to sustainably navigate the pains caused by all this complexity, we need to apply a complexity conscious approach. And that's what we've been working on here at Intentional Futures. We don't really want to cause more harm. And we fall short of creating those adaptive, innovative, and inspiring workplaces that we're working so hard to manifest when we don't understand this distinction. So in the upcoming videos, I'm going to share with you how we've taken complexity conscious approaches and methods with strategy design, with strategy activation, with cross-functional team management, with culture change, and more. So, and we're gonna take away the friction of the so what, like, okay, great, now I know this, so what? And we're gonna show you how to do this. So it's not some abstract thing, but we're gonna give you tangible, practical tools and methods you can apply. And I think everyone needs it, and everyone needs more of that now. So that's what we're gonna do. And here's all that I ask in return is that as you watch these videos, if you've even hung out this long, that you share our ideas with others that you think might benefit from them. Or 2, I ask that maybe you share your own ideas. We would love to learn from you. And finally, that you share maybe how these videos or ideas are making a difference for you and your team. Let's be for each other. Okay, cool. I hope you love this. I'll see you in the next video.